Riddle number 1. Who is guilty? Sherlock Holmes was working on a tricky case. One day he vanished. The only thing John Watson found on his desk was an encrypted note. It looked like this: D plus 1, L plus 1, H plus 1, K plus 1, X plus 1. He knew Sherlock had 3 suspects: David, Susan, and Emily. Who was behind the disappearance of the famous detective? John Watson cracked the code. D plus 1 equals E, L plus 1 equals M, and so on. Emily knew where Sherlock was. 2. Generous grandfather. Jason and his grandfather were very close. They spent a lot of time together. Their favorite entertainment was to crack detective riddles. Unfortunately, the elderly man passed away unexpectedly. His lawyer informed the relatives that the grandfather had hidden all his money, and he was a wealthy man. The one who would find it would get all the inheritance. Jason realized the grandfather wanted him to get everything. He ran to his office and soon found out where to look for the money. Can you figure it out? There's a cross on the picture with an apple tree that's hanging on the wall. Jason has to look for the money there. 3. The second riddle. When Jason reached the tree, he found a small box. Inside there was a note with a rebus puzzle. After looking at it for a while, the guy darted off. Where did he run? The rebus says back door. That's where Jason headed. There, under the stairs, he found another box with a key to a bank safe deposit box inside. 4. East and West. The king's 2 most trusted bodyguards created a method of keeping their boss safe. With the monarch between them, they were going to stand looking in the opposite directions. One would face the west and the other the east. At the same time, without using any reflective surfaces, they would both see the king clearly. How would they do it? They would be facing each other. 5. Attacked neighbor. Detective Oliver Norton was leaving for work in the morning when he saw a man running out of his neighbor's house. He stopped the guy, who said his name was Paul. He came to visit his colleague about 30 minutes ago and saw him fighting with a man. The door was locked and Paul couldn't get inside to help. While he was trying to find the way to enter the house, the criminal left. Paul entered and saw his colleague lying on the kitchen floor, unconscious. Oliver and Paul came into the house. Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary, but after looking around the kitchen, the detective arrested the man. Why? Paul was the one to attack Oliver's neighbor. If his words had been true, fried eggs would have been burned after 30 minutes of cooking. 6. Diving disaster. You're a scuba diver who's exploring the seafloor on your own. After visiting one cave after another, you find out you've lost your way. You start panicking because you have barely enough oxygen to make it back to the surface. Suddenly, you see the cave you're in has 3 exits, but one of them is guarded by 3 giant jellyfish, the second by electric eels, and in the third opening, there are huge whale sharks. Which passage should you opt for? Choose the exit guarded by whale sharks. They get their food by filtering water and are totally harmless to people. 7. Stolen documents. At 11 a.m., Liam got a call from his friend, the owner of a law firm. The man was in distress. A very important document had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Liam immediately went there to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Elijah said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend to dinner, and Evelyn had visited an art gallery. It didn't take Liam long to understand who was lying. It was Elijah. His ticket wasn't torn. 8. Real or fake? Kevin decided to visit his elderly aunt he hadn't seen for several months. But when he got to her house, he saw 2 men wearing construction worker uniforms. They were moving out some furniture. What are you doing here?" Kevin asked. "Miss Saunders hired us to help her get rid of old furniture. We're from Pick and Carry Transport Company," one of the men answered. He sounded sincere, but Kevin felt there was something wrong about the whole situation. Suddenly, he realized the men were thieves. How did he understand it? There was no company van near the aunt's house, just a dark car with tinted windows. Plus, why were the men wearing construction worker uniforms if they were movers? 9. Anxious wife. Ryan got into a car accident. He was badly injured and lost his memory. The man was rushed to a hospital. When he came around in his room, he saw 3 young women near his bed. The doctor informed them Ryan had to stay there for at least a week. Unfortunately, the poor man couldn't remember who the women were. Each of them claimed to be his wife. "Sweetheart, but what if you never remember me?" the woman on the left was crying. "Honey, I'm so worried. Let's go home and I'll take care of you," the one in the middle exclaimed. The girl on the right was furious. "They're trying to steal you from me. Let's leave this place right away." Which lady is the man's wife? The woman on the left was crying. She's the only one who's worried. The other 2 want to take Ryan away from the hospital, but he's injured and needs medical care. 10. Gas station accident. Brian was driving home late in the evening when he noticed he was running out of gas. He stopped by at a gas station to fill the gas tank and buy some snacks. When he came up to the employee to pay, she told him $5.05. Brian paid, went outside, and called the police to report an emergency. Why? The cash register showed $18.35, but the cashier said $5.05, which looks like SOS. 11. Trapped in a well. Eric was a famous detective. Once he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old, deep, but luckily not filled with water. On the flip side, there was no way he could get out to the surface. Suddenly, Eric saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then the detective felt soil falling on his head. The criminal was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, Eric was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. 12. Winter escape. Mark and Liza had been dating for 2 years. One day, the guy came to his girlfriend's house. He was going to propose to her. But when he made it there, he found Liza with another man. Mark was furious. The other guy got scared and rushed out of the house. Liza was shouting it was his brother, but Mark knew better. Unfortunately, he hadn't seen the guy's face clearly. When he ran outside, he saw 3 men. Which one is Liza's lover? It's the guy on the left. It's freezing outside, and the other two guys have red cheeks and noses. But the third guy's face is pale because he just left a warm house. 13. A bus driver. A bus driver is heading down the road from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. It's been a long day and he's worn out. He yawns several times and ignores a stop sign. A police car is passing by right at this moment. The officers inside see the driver turning the wrong way onto a one-way street. But they don't arrest him. Why? The man's walking, not driving a bus. 14. A mysterious man. A man and a woman are driving along a road at breakneck speed. Suddenly, the man pulls the car over. He tells the woman he'll be right back and sprints into a large building. The car doors are locked, all the windows are up. But when the man returns, he finds the woman unconscious. There's also a stranger in the car with her. Surprisingly, instead of pulling him out of the car, the man hugs him. Who is the stranger and how did he enter the car? The woman was in labor, and the man was driving her to a hospital. By the time he returned with a doctor, the woman had already given birth and passed out from exhaustion. The stranger in the car was the man's son. Well, that's a happy ending. Okay, bad news. You got taken. No time to explain, let's just get out of here. So you find yourself in a dark cell with a dirt floor and a small window at twice your height. There's no food or water, but there's a shovel. Why did they leave the shovel? Don't ask me, I don't know. Just be happy you have it. However, you can't dig your way out because the walls go a long way underground. So, how do you get out? You can still dig and make a high dirt pile that will make you reach the window and get out of there. So you do just that and find yourself in a dark corridor. You have nothing to do but to go straight, hoping that sooner or later you'll find the exit and get out of this creepy place. Half an hour later, you approach a metal door. You have to enter the passcode, but here's a hint. Berlin, 600. Paris, 400. London, 600. Rome, 200. Toronto, what's the passcode? Each consonant in the word gives 200 points, while each vowel takes away 100 points. In the word Toronto, there are 4 consonants that give 800 together. 3 vowels take away 300 points. So the passcode is 500. The door clicks and you leave another obstacle behind. Soon, you approach 3 more doors. Behind the first one, there's an iron block with a movement sensor that will crush everyone who enters. Behind the second door, there's an electric shocker that never misses. Behind the third door, there's broken glass all over the floor. Which way do you choose? You pick the third door, obviously. You're wearing some boots, right? So, walking on the glass is definitely not going to be too hard of a task. You follow the tunnel till you reach the next room. As you step in there, a metal cage falls down from the ceiling and traps you inside. However, there are 3 buttons there. The red button will open the cage, but it'll also open a door with a hungry lion. The blue button will fill the cage with water for 10 minutes, and only then will it open the door. However, keep in mind that people can only live 7 minutes without oxygen. The green button will set the room on fire, but will open the cage door in 5 minutes. Which one do you choose? You should choose the blue button. The water won't be able to fill the cage because it will just splash outside. You'll only have to wait 10 minutes until the door opens, and you'll be able to get out safely. You turn right and immediately bump into a huge guard. Your heart skips a beat and you get paralyzed with fear. To your surprise, the guard looks down at you and asks, "Want to pass?" Speechless, you just nod. Okay. You see, no one here wants to play riddles with me. If you solve one of my riddles, I'll let you go and won't tell anyone I've seen you. Deal? You nod again, and here comes your riddle. What is that invention that lets you see right through walls? That's a window, of course. The guard smiles and says, "Beware of the vampires." Then he moves aside, letting you go. Wow, that was close. And vampires? This gives you chills, but you have to keep moving and get out. And again, another door that requires a passcode. Can you crack it? There's a hint again. You should continue the sequence. OTTFFSSENT. Each of these letters is the first letter of the numbers. O for 1, T for 2, T for 3, then 4, 5, and so on. The last stands for 10, so the next 4 are ETTF, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Yep, that's correct. The door clicks open. Move! You get into a huge dark room. All the light comes from the candles the room is filled with. The problem is that there are 4 ways, and again, you don't know which one to take. Suddenly, each of the doors opens and 4 people walk into the room. There are 2 men, 1 woman, and 1 teenage girl. They all say they're prisoners too, and the other 3 are vampires. Who do you trust? You should trust the second man. He's the only one who casts a shadow from the light of the candles. The other 3 don't, so they must be vampires. So you rush to the man and you shut the door behind yourself. It'll probably slow them down for a while. As you're running, the man tells you he's been here for at least 3 days. The next obstacle is something he couldn't solve by himself, so he couldn't get out. There's just one try, and if you fail, the exit gets blocked for 24 hours. Finally, you come across another door with a robot guarding it. To let you go, the robot needs you to say the password. The tricky thing is that the password is different each time. The man said that as he was hiding in the room, he saw the vampires passing it twice. The first time, the robot said 12, and the vampire said 6. The other time, the robot said 6, and the vampire said 3. When the man approached the robot the last time, the robot said 8. The man replied 4, but the robot didn't let him in. The door got blocked, so it wasn't the right answer. You nod and approach the robot. The robot says 4. What is your answer? The answer is 4. The rule isn't dividing the number by 2, but saying the number of letters in the word. Your answer is accepted. The robot opens the door and lets you go. Again, another dark room. But as you step into it, you get surrounded by 8 hungry dogs. In the middle, there's a meat cake standing so high on the table that the dogs can't reach it. To calm them down and make them your friends before they make you their dinner, you have to feed them the cake. But here's a tricky thing. The knife is magical and can only make 3 cuts. After 3 cuts, it disappears. Your task is to divide the cake into 8 equal pieces with these 3 cuts. How can you manage that? With 1 cut, you cut the cake in half and get 2 pieces. Then you make another perpendicular cut and get 4 pieces. With your last move, you have to cut the cake in the middle horizontally, splitting each of the 4 pieces into 2 at once. Great job! Now, give each of the dogs a piece of cake and get out of there immediately. You rush to the door and lock it behind yourselves. You're in a tunnel again, and this time there's no light at all. You move in complete darkness, putting your hand to the wall so that you know where to go. You walk like that for at least half an hour when, finally, you see some light. You run towards it and come across another massive door that requires a passcode. Luckily, there's a hint again, but there will be 2 questions appearing one by one. To get the passcode, you have to solve both of them and put the answers together. Ready? How many months have 28 days? All 12 of them, obviously. Okay, next one. Here's the sequence of letters. S, M, H, D, W. What are the other 2 letters? S stands for seconds, M for minutes, H for hours, D is for days, W is for weeks. So the next letters are M for months and Y for years. And the full passcode is 12MW. The door clicks and you're outside. Finally! There's actual air and sun. But before you start thinking about what happened and what to do next, a police officer comes up to you. With him, there are 2 ladies wearing paper bags over their heads. "Sir, are you Mr. Jones?" the police officer asks. You reply, "That's you exactly." However, the police officer looks suspicious. "Well, we can't know for sure that you're not one of these criminals pretending to be someone else, so we have to test you. One of these ladies is your bride. Tell us which one it is." And now, you finally remember what happened. It was your wedding morning. You were about to get married, and then you found yourself in that dungeon. Well, the problem is that you haven't seen your wife-to-be wedding dress yet, so you can't even tell which one is the right one. Is there any other way to tell? Think carefully. With their faces covered, these girls are absolutely identical. You didn't need much time. You notice that one of the girls is wearing a wedding ring already. However, you and your bride aren't married yet, so she's not supposed to have one. And the one who doesn't have it is yours. Congratulations! The girl removes the bag, and you see that it's really her. Right behind you, the door opens and the vampires walk out. You're about to start screaming, but they take off their wigs and they turn out to be your friends. So, was it all a prank? Well, yeah, it was. But don't be mad. You had fun, right? Well, most of the time.
A shrill ringing of your phone jolts you awake. Your friend, the best detective in the city, is on the line. "I don't have time to explain. I'm leaving the city in 20 minutes. You'll have to replace me for the next week or 2. Don't try to contact me." As he hangs up, you're left sitting on your bed, the phone in your hand, staring into the darkness of your room. You have to deal with your first case already in the morning. An anxious man rushes into your friend's office. "I work as a cashier in a clothing store. Last night, I was the one to lock it up. As I was counting the money, the room suddenly went dark. There was some problem with the light bulb. I climbed the table and grabbed it, but by doing it, I burned my hand, jerked it back, fell to the floor, and lost consciousness. When I came to my senses, the money was gone." You examine the room attentively and realize the man is lying. What makes you think so? The light bulb the cashier told you about is an LED one. Such light bulbs don't get hot. Your first real case makes you hungry. You go to the nearest restaurant to get something to eat. But as soon as you enter, you hear loud, angry voices. A waitress and a visitor are arguing. "You also ordered chicken wings, and you have to pay for this dish." It's the waitress. The visitor looks tired and sleepy. "But I didn't. I haven't been here longer than an hour. Yes, I did doze off, but it doesn't mean I don't remember my order." You can't help but step in. "You know very well that this man couldn't have ordered chicken wings," you say. "How did you figure it out?" spotted a note on the wall. It says, "The kitchen works till 1 p.m. today." It's now 3 p.m. The man claims he's been there for an hour, which means he came well after the kitchen was closed. After the accident, you decide to have a meal at another cafe. But as you come closer, you see a crying lady. "I was going to cross the road when some woman grabbed my purse and disappeared. I noticed her enter this cafe. Can you help me get my things back?" You enter the cafe. "Ah, that's my purse, right between those two women. But I can't recognize the one who took it. I didn't have time to look at her attentively." You don't need much time to figure out which woman is guilty. It's the one on the left. The woman on the right has her left arm in a cast. If she had taken the purse, she'd have put it on the right side of herself. After such an eventful day, you're exhausted. You fall asleep as soon as your head touches the pillow. But you get woken up just a few hours later. Another day, another case.
"Oh, you're finally here."
A man tied to a chair looks happy.
"Someone broke into my house this night, tied me, and stole all our valuables. Our mailman came early in the morning to deliver newspapers. He must have heard me shouting for help and called the police. Luckily, all our stuff was insured. But I hope to deal with this problem before my wife finds out about this."
You arrest the man for attempting insurance fraud. Why? You paid attention that the newspapers were on the table in the hall, not lying on the floor near the mail slot. Someone must have put them there. It could only be the house owner or his wife, who was an accomplice. After the police arrive, you leave the man's house and immediately receive a new call. Mrs. Smith claims that her neighbor, Mrs. Miller, has stolen her laundry. The woman says she hung the laundry in her backyard at 10 a.m. And when she went out of the house 2 hours later, she saw Mrs. Miller putting it in her bag.
"I didn't do this. It's a lie."
The other woman looks angry. You look around and ask Mrs. Smith to go to the police station with you for trying to slander her neighbor. How did you figure out that Mrs. Smith was lying? It's freezing outside, and there's snow on the roofs. In 2 hours, damp laundry would be so frozen, it'd be impossible to fold it and put it in a bag. Your phone rings again. It's a woman who works at a museum.
"You must help me,"
she cries. When you arrive at the museum, she tells you her story.
"Yesterday, I stayed late at work. I needed to prepare some documents. I was sitting at this table. The overhead lights were off, and the only source of light was my desk lamp. I was listening to music when suddenly I saw a shadow to the right of the table. I realized it was a person jumping out of the open window. I immediately switched on the overhead lights and discovered that an ancient vase I kept in my office was gone. This vase costs hundreds of thousands of dollars."
You didn't believe this story. Why? If the only source of light had been a desk lamp standing in front of the woman, she wouldn't have noticed the shadow to the right of the table. It turns out that before leaving, your detective friend gave your contacts to all his acquaintances. And now, one of them needs your help. You arrive at his jewelry store. A client came there several hours ago, planning to buy an expensive diamond ring for his wife. But someone stole his wallet right in the store. The manager, he was the one to call you, asked all the visitors who were inside at that time to stay until your arrival. You look at all these people attentively. Soon you know who took the wallet. It's the man in the middle. He has a bandage on his right arm, but it's wrapped over the sleeve of his jacket, not hidden under it, like a real bandage would be. You knock on a sturdy brown door, while a woman with a bandage on her head stands next to you. A man opens the door. "Excuse me," you say. "A pot plant fell out of your window an hour ago and hit this woman on her head. I had to take her to the hospital. She's okay now, but you need to compensate this woman for the damage. May we come in?" The man turns pale, but lets you in.
"It can't be true. Our windows were closed because we've just returned home.
I literally entered my apartment 2 minutes before you came. You realize this man is lying and call the police. How did you figure it out? You spotted a pan with boiling water in the kitchen. If the man had indeed come home just a few minutes ago, the water wouldn't have had enough time to start boiling. Now, it's your friend who needs help. She owns a grocery store. A gust of wind blew a $100 bill out of her hands, and the money seems to have vanished into thin air. Your friend thinks it was one of the customers who took the bill, but no one wants to admit stealing the money. You ask all visitors to go to your friend's office when a woman speaks up.
It's incredible to be accused of theft. Here, you can check my bags right now.
Please, just come with me to the office. We'll figure it out there, you say. After the woman refuses to follow you, you call the police. Why? The woman is standing on the $100 bill. If she follows you, everyone will see the money. The next morning, rainy and gloomy, you get your next case. To investigate it, you need to visit the office of a large international company. Rebecca, the girl who called you, works there. She says, "I've just come back from brunch and discovered that someone had knocked our HR manager out just an hour ago." You question the people who were in the office at that time. Laura is an applicant. She says she was a bit angry with the HR manager. He made her wait well past her appointment time.
And still,
the girl says,
I would never hit another person. I'm also too weak to do it.
Gary, who works in the marketing department, claims he hasn't seen the HR manager since he arrived at work. He was in a meeting from the very morning till lunchtime. Jacob from Research and Development tells you he rode his bike to a coffee shop to get his cappuccino. He's just come back. You immediately realize who hit the HR manager. It was Jacob. Both his bike and his clothes are dry and clean. How is that possible if it's raining outside? You leave Rebecca's office and hear your phone beeping. You see a text with an address you don't know. You drive there. A man meets you at the door of a large building. He's shaking. When you enter a large dark hall, you see 2 containers filled with transparent liquid. 2 women are floating inside. They look identical. "One of them is my wife, but I can't figure out which one, and I'm allowed to open only one container." You walk around the women and examine them. Then you point at one of them. "That's your wife. How did you figure it out?" The man's name is Mark. It's written on his biker jacket. His wife is the woman with the letter M tattooed on her arm. Your phone beeps again. You look at it and see a message. It's from your detective friend. There's just one word on the screen. "Help!" But that's already another story.
After winning the lottery, Gerald got very rich. He bought a huge villa and hired an art dealer to invest in some masterpieces. The art dealer convinced Gerald to buy a very expensive antique statue for his collection. One day, Gerald's daughter came to visit him. He boasted about the statue, but his daughter began to laugh. She said that scammers had deceived Gerald. Why did she say so? There's a small engraving on the statue. It says, "Made in China." Wendy is the president of the local reading club. Its members usually gather in her home because it's large and beautiful. But one evening, someone hit Wendy on the head in her library after the club meeting was over. The girl didn't see who it was. The next day, police officers questioned 3 suspects. Melanie said that she had left the meeting earlier that night. She had a night flight to Paris. Kelly said that she had been the last person to leave Wendy's house, but she hadn't noticed anything suspicious. Amy was absent that day because it was her husband's birthday. Who is lying? Melanie. If she had a flight to Paris, why isn't she there? Take a look at this picturesque field. Can you see anything weird? this sunflower over here. Josh worked as a security guard at a large international airport. One day, he received a call from the cleaning staff. They found someone's dog. Josh had to figure out who was the dog's owner. Take a look at these passengers. Can you identify the dog's owner among them? This guy over here has a bone in his bag, and there's dog hair on his pants. He must be the owner. Take a look at this pattern. Can you spot the odd emoji? This parrot over here has different wings. Jason has recently been hired as an art gallery assistant. He got a large delivery one morning. 5 rare paintings from the Middle Ages. Jason called his boss immediately and told her that 2 of the 5 paintings are fake. How has he figured it out? There's a skyscraper in the background of this painting, and this picture seems to be authentic, but look at the sky. There's an aircraft flying among birds. Take a look at this picture. Can you find the odd emoji? These guys over here. After a long road trip, Lily finally arrived at her friend's wedding venue in another city. The food looked very appetizing and Lily was starving, so she headed for the table. But suddenly, the lights went off and Lily fainted. She woke up the next day with a terrible headache, just like all the other guests. None of them remembered anything about how the party ended. Look at these 2 pictures. They were taken before and after the lights went out. Can you guess what happened at the party? The balloons popped. Someone had filled them with sleeping gas. This person wanted everyone to fall asleep. It might have been done to help the bride run away because she's absent this morning. Jill is an art teacher. One morning, she entered her art studio and got very surprised. The entire wall and the students' drawings were stained with paint. Jill interviewed 3 suspects. The cleaning lady hadn't cleaned the class the day before because she'd had a day off. Jill's student Rosie said that she had left the studio at 6 p.m. At that time, everything was okay. Another student, Rick, confessed that he had brought his girlfriend to the studio to show off his paintings, but they left at 8 p.m. Who is responsible for this mess? The cat! It got into the studio through an open window. Take a look at this picture. Why did he tie his friend down? It's a full moon. His friend began turning into a werewolf and the guy got scared. 2 guys are trying to get Hillary's attention by showing off their money. The first man sends her a selfie of him near a private jet, and the second sends a photo of him wearing a pilot's uniform and flying a jumbo jet. Whose salary is higher? Pilots earn good money, so the second guy is definitely well off, and the first guy probably just works at the airport. 4 artists gathered in a park to paint landscapes. Having finished his first drawing, Bill went to the bathroom. When Bill returned, he found out that his drawing was ruined. He was very upset and questioned his friends. Steven didn't see what happened. He was away buying coffee for everyone. Dylan didn't look at the paintings. He was distracted by a conversation with a beautiful woman. Kelly said that she'd been painting her own portrait in another part of the park. Who's lying? Kelly, if she had been painting, why is her canvas blank? Steven had a rough day at college, so he decided to relax and went to his favorite restaurant with other students. Sam, Jill, and Jules each ordered a cappuccino. Rebecca, Peter, and Helen each ordered an espresso. What drink did Steven order? Cappuccino or espresso? Espresso. Stephen has two-letter E's in his name, just like Rebecca, Peter, and Helen. Can you spot anything weird in this picture? This coconut doesn't look as fresh as the others. Henry was walking along the street. Suddenly, a witch appeared in front of him. She opened a portal, grabbed Henry, and took him to her castle. Henry asked her to let him go, but the witch said,
"Now you will serve me forever."
Henry had a notebook and a pen in his pocket. He offered the witch a deal. "If I write your weight in this notebook, will you let me go?" The witch was very intrigued and agreed. Henry wrote something down, and she had to let him go. What did he write? As promised, Henry wrote, "Your weight." Can you guess the food by these emojis? It's sushi. How about this one? Hot chocolate. Let's take it up a notch. Can you guess the dish by these emojis? It's pizza. How about this? It's a cheeseburger. Can you guess the food by these emojis? It's fruit ice. How about this combination? Any ideas? That's right, it's French fries. The next product. You probably like it hot. A peanut butter cookie. How about this combination? That's right, it's a salad. Jack bought his girlfriend an expensive dress for her birthday. He left the dress in his wardrobe and left the house. When he returned, he saw that the dress was gone. Only 3 people were at home that day, and he questioned them. Jack's sister Laura said that she'd been cleaning the house since morning. Jack's mother Rose had been planting flowers in the garden. And Jack's aunt Nina had been cooking a birthday dinner all day long. Who stole the dress? It was Jack's mother. There are no flowers in the garden. Take a look at this picture. Can you find the odd emoji? This guy over here. One day, Mr. Blue, Mr. Red, and Mr. White met for dinner. When they took off their jackets, Mr. Blue drew everyone's attention to the fact that each of them was wearing a shirt whose color was different from their last name. The man in the white shirt looked surprised and said, "Yeah, Mr. Blue, you're right." Can you figure out what color each man was wearing? Mr. Blue can be wearing only a white or red shirt, but we know for sure that a different man is wearing a white shirt. This means that Mr. Blue must be wearing a red shirt. Mr. White could be wearing a blue or a red shirt, but the red shirt is already taken by Mr. Blue. Therefore, Mr. White is wearing a blue shirt. That means Mr. Red is wearing a white shirt. How about this picture? Do you see any odd emojis here? This one over there. Jessica was a famous art dealer. Many painters were dreaming of working with her. One day, she entered an art class and noticed a stunning landscape. "Wow, who painted this masterpiece?" she asked. 3 artists came up to her. Each claimed he was the author of the painting. Can you help Jessica identify the real author? It's the guy over here. His palette contains exactly the colors that we see in the painting. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot what's wrong here? Dolphins don't swim in forest lakes. Once, a strict king ruled his kingdom. The magical town where he lived was surrounded by high walls. No one was allowed to leave the town, and anyone who wanted to enter the town had to have special documents. If they didn't, they were sent away. The Magic Kingdom was connected with the rest of the world with a wooden bridge. It was under the watch of the king's wizard, who drove away all uninvited guests with his magic. He would walk out to check the bridge every 5 minutes, and he would then stay inside for another 5 minutes. To cross the bridge, a person needed 9 minutes, and still, one citizen managed to escape the town. How did he do it? The man was walking across the bridge for about 5 minutes while the wizard was inside. After that, he turned back and started walking toward the town. When he reached the wall, the wizard asked for his documents. The man didn't have any, so he was sent away. Maggie is an art critic. One day, she decided to visit a fancy restaurant famous for its unique art collection. Maggie took a seat and began to study the paintings hanging on the walls. When the waitress approached her table, Maggie asked how old those paintings were. The waitress said that they only had 18th century art pieces in the restaurant. Maggie left that place immediately and wrote an angry review on their website. Liars! Why? Look at this portrait. Do you recognize this face? It's the waitress. It's very unlikely that she's more than 300 years old, unless she's a vampire. Three friends, Ashton, Emma, and Lewis, went skydiving together. This is them right before they jumped out of the plane. Which of them is in danger? Ashton. He's wearing a regular backpack instead of his parachute. Amelia is running away from a group of zombies and comes across 3 doors. Behind the first one, there's a raging fire. Behind the second door, there's a deep lake. Behind the third door, there are venomous bees that bite everyone who enters. Which way is the safest? I'd choose the second door and then just swim away. It's just a lake. Amelia can probably do it. Esme was walking in the forest and got lost. It was late evening when she finally found a witch's house and asked the woman to help her get home. The witch recently got internet access and was shopping online, but there were lots of fake items on the internet and she needed to buy only original products. Unfortunately, she didn't know the correct logos, so she needed Esme's help. First of all, she wanted an iPhone. Which iPhone logo is the original one? Of course, this one. Next, she needed a pair of sneakers for her morning runs. Which logo is correct? Here it is. Next, she wanted to get a fancy purse. Which Chanel logo is correct? This one. The witch also wanted a BMW motorbike, but which one is the original logo? Yep, that's right. When the witch needs gas for her motorbike, what 7-Eleven should she go to? It's this one. Amazing! Now Esme can go back home. Evelyn went to a corporate party with her husband. At the party, she suddenly blacked out. When Evelyn woke up in a hospital, she couldn't remember anything. There were 2 men in front of her, and each of them claimed to be her husband. But which one tells the truth? Since Evelyn and her husband were at a corporate event, they were both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal enough, so her husband must be the one who's wearing a suit. Miss Lodge was going on a vacation. She cleaned up her office and left, taking the key with her. When she came back 2 weeks later, she immediately realized that someone had been to her office while she'd been away. How did she understand it? When she left, the window blinds were closed, and now they're open. A group of friends met in the evening for a game night. According to the rules of one of the games they played, they each had to draw a card with a number. Soon, they realized that the number 6 was missing. Since it was a new set of cards, it was weird that they had already lost it. They all revealed their cards and, indeed, there was no 6. Suddenly, one of the friends started to laugh. She said she'd found the missing card. Can you spot it too? The player who has a 9 actually has a 6, but he's holding it upside down. There are only 8 cards and the highest number is also 8. It was reported that another civilian had invaded Earth. Detective Callum had a special mission to find everyone who was not human. He entered a cafe searching for invaders and noticed one of them right away. Can you tell which customer is not human? It's that dark-haired guy right there. Look, he has 6 fingers. Take a look at this busy street. Can you find an imposter here? It's this guy. His clothes are super warm, but look, his face is blue. Now we're moving to the mall. Try to find an intruder here. Look, this woman is glimmering. She must be from another world. We have a few more intruders to catch. Detective Callum found out that one of them was at a local college, so he drove there. Which student is not human? Look, that girl is floating, just a couple of inches above the ground, but still, definitely not an ordinary student. After work, the detective went to the gym, but even there was someone from another planet. Can you spot them? Pay attention to the guy on the treadmill. He's running too fast. He must be an imposter. Arya called the police and reported that her friend Violet had been poisoned. The girl found her unconscious on the floor. Here's what Arya said. I was walking past Violet's house and noticed that the lights were on. I figured that she was at home, so I decided to come in and say hi. The front door was open, so I walked in and saw Violet just like that. The police officer asked her if she had touched anything. Arya answered that she had only touched Violet to check her pulse, and then her cell phone to make the call. The police detained her for further investigation. Why? The lights in the room are off, but Arya said that it hadn't been dark in the room. That's why she entered. If she didn't touch the switch, then she's lying now. It was a sunny spring Sunday morning. The whole family was at home. When Hannah returned to her room after breakfast, she noticed that someone had played a prank on her and stolen all the clothes from her closet. She questioned every person in the house. Hannah's mom said she'd been busy reorganizing her bedroom. Her dad said that he'd been shoveling snow in front of the house. The girl's sister, Serenity, said that she had been playing video games in her room. Who took Hannah's clothes? It was her dad. There is no snow outside. It's spring. He couldn't have been shoveling snow. So he lied. Tyler came back home and found a love letter in his mailbox. It was a very sweet one, but the sender didn't write their name. Instead, there was some code added at the end. Can you figure out the name of Tyler's secret admirer? The alphabet is the key. D plus 1 means the letter following D, which is E. O minus 3 means 3 letters before O, which is L. 2 letters after G is I. Z plus 0 is actually Z. And C minus 2 is A. It seems that the girl's name is Eliza. Kara likes traveling, but she's terrible at packing. So, your task is to check her suitcase and find one thing she doesn't need to take with her. Kara is going camping with her friends. What's that extra thing she packed that she needs to leave at home? There's no electricity in the forest. She can leave this electric kettle at home. This time, Kara is packing for her vacation in Mexico. She and her boyfriend have booked a room in a beautiful hotel, right by the ocean. What won't she need there? She probably won't need the towel. Hotels usually provide them and replace them every day with clean ones. This time, Kara is going on a ski trip with a group of friends. The task is the same. What won't she need there? I'm not sure about their plans, but she isn't likely to need this swimsuit. And finally, Kara is going to visit her grandparents. They live on a farm, and she'll stay there for a week. There's no electricity or running water there, so it's gonna be a bit tough for a girl from a big city. What doesn't she need to take with her? I think it's this hairdryer. No electricity, remember? Weston Jones, a young businessman, was found poisoned in his office. Detective Callum arrived to investigate the case. He had 3 suspects: Mr. Jones' cousin, Leah Jones, his business partner Kenneth Brown, and his girlfriend, Emery. Leah said that she hadn't seen Weston for a while. Kenneth said they'd had an argument, but he hadn't poisoned his partner. And Emery said she loved Weston and would never have done anything like that. Who should Detective Callum arrest? Look, there's a lipstick stain on one of the teacups in Mr. Jones's office. The color matches Leah's lipstick, but she said that she hadn't seen her cousin lately. She must be lying. Ariana was poisoned, and Detective Callum was on the case. One of the main suspects was Jake, Ariana's sister's boyfriend. Someone saw them together, and Detective Callum visited him. Good afternoon. I'm sorry to tell you this, but your girlfriend's sister, Ariana, has been poisoned. Do you know anything about it? And do you maybe have any photos with her? Jake said, Oh, poor Ari. I've never met her, but my girlfriend loves her very much. Yes, I have a picture of their family. The detective looked at the photo and arrested Jake. Why? Look, Jake is in the photo too. It means that he must have met Ariana. Then why would he lie about it? Esme was walking through the forest. Yep, again. And you know what? She got lost. She had been wandering around until she found the witch's house. She said, Hi, petted the cat, and asked the witch to show her the way home. The witch had a task for Esme. She needed several magical artifacts for her new spell, but she only knew their shapes. And Esme had to figure out which of the artifacts the witch needed. Here's the first set. Those are magical crystals. Which of them is the one the witch needs? Here it is. Okay, here are several plants. Can you spot the one the witch needs? Yes, here it is. Now there are several types of insects. Which one of them is the one the witch needs? Perfect. Here it is. And the last crystal. What's your guess? It's right there. Esme's free to go this time. Thank you for your assistance.